Hello and welcome to the Elevate podcast. I'm your host, Patricia Nowakowski. I'm a salon owner, educator, mindset, and leadership coach that helps salon owners go from overwhelmed and burnt out to motivated and empowered. It is my mission to help you systemize your business, generate more profit, and create a career that you love. Join us every week to learn about the small shifts you can make to elevate your business regarding mindset, marketing, social media, business systems, and so much more. Welcome to this week's episode of the Elevate podcast. On this week's episode, we have Tracy Powers. Tracy is a longtime friend and a salon owner, like a spa and salon owner. And she does rental. And today we're going to be chatting about the rental structure, why she chose to do it and why it works for her, and kind of just like toss around the pros and cons of what we think about this salon structure. Tracy, do you want to take a moment to introduce yourself and tell everyone who you are, what you do, and where you've come from?
Hi, everyone. My name is Tracy Powers, and I own Tracy's Boutique in Orland Park and in Frankfurt. I have been in the industry since I was 14 years old, starting off as an assistant, and then started doing nails. I got to think, it's been a long time now. Started doing nails when I was only 16, and then started aesthetics when I was 21. So it is 20 plus years. And I opened up my first location 5 years ago.
So you and I both started off at the same commission place, and you worked there for a very, very long time. Do you kind of want to just touch base on why you decided to stay a commission employee for as long as you did and how long that was?
You know, I feel that it probably was more of the fear of failure and the fear that I would not be able to do it on my own. So it held me back from trying to take the leap to try to do something where I can do it. You know, I knew that I always wanted to be a salon or spa owner. I just was nervous that I wouldn't be able to be as successful as I knew I wanted to be, and failure is not an option for me. So I decided to go for the leap.
What if you could experience more balance and fulfillment in your salon? Build and retain an amazing team and earn more revenue than ever before. That's exactly what salon owners are doing in the Elevated Salon Owner Collective. When you join the collective, you will receive access to salon building courses teaching you ways to systemize your business, social media, and more. Done for you content including scripts, forms, social media, and email marketing. Stylist courses to train and develop your team, including our 12-week stylist training program, build your books, strategies, and social media. Our community of like-minded salon owners and their teams with monthly group sessions. By investing in the collective, you will save thousands of dollars. You won't be throwing away your money at courses that don't work, wasting more money on non-experts who don't have the credibility to teach you from experience, or the opportunity cost of time away from your salon, your team, and your clientele. To learn more and join the collective, visit opulentbeautypro.com/elevate or click the link in the show notes. What was that one thing that like pushed you to like move on? I feel like all of us like stayed at this one particular place for so long because we were so comfortable. But then I think we all kind of went through like our own process, and each one of us had like a unique experience on like that one thing that like catapulted us to like have the courage to take the risk. Like, what was the one thing that you're like, okay, like I'm ready to do this. I'm going to go for it, and I'm going to open my own place.
Okay, it depends if you want me to get deep or not.
Always.
Okay. So in all honesty, you know, I never was a risk taker. I had watched my brother had cancer and died at a young age. He was 32 years old. It just made me realize that life is too short to not do the things you've always wanted to do. Tomorrow's not guaranteed. I figured if I fail, I have a long resume and I could go down the block and get a job anywhere with the resume that I had.
So when you opened your first place, because you have two locations right now, or are you just down to the one? Did you move the second?
So I have two locations.
Okay. So when you decided to open your first location and you were thinking about starting your business, what was the deciding factor that you decided like, hey, I don't think I want to do commission. I think I want to do rental.
I didn't want all the responsibility that I was told that you get with commission. So I thought that that would give me a lot more free time. I was misinformed as to the structure on how different it was with commission. And then you fast forward and you realize that you have maybe not as much, but almost as much responsibility as with having a rental structure as you would with having a commission structure.
Yeah, I think so many of this, like the actual like coaching clients that I work with, all of them end up saying like in the very beginning that they want to open a rental because they don't want to lead people. They don't want to manage people. They don't want the responsibility. But in reality, it's really like, because I've done both, it's very close to the same amount of work. I think the only difference is that like you're not ordering all of the supplies for everybody. A lot of people order their own stuff, and that's probably the only difference, but you're still managing, you're still having all of this responsibility that is just as stressful as doing commission. So when you opened your salon, you decided to do rental. What was the turning point where you're like, maybe rental isn't as cut out as I thought it was going to be? How far along were you into the opening of your business?
It probably, just for myself, it probably was not until I opened up my second location about 2 years ago that I had realized that you're working as a business owner 24/7. It just doesn't stop. And of course you want to be a business owner to do bigger, better, more things. And you would like to make an income, and nobody works for free. So having a rental, you're not reaping all of the benefits of all the hard work that you're doing. Working a lot of hours and not getting paid for that does start to weigh on you.
So what areas would you say that like you're doing so much work? Because I want to really dive into this because I really don't think that people understand like having a business is having a business no matter what structure you have. And the difference between rental and commission is that when you do have a commission salon, I think overall, like the beginning startup costs are just a little bit more because you are buying all the products and that is expensive. You still have to do the build out. You still have to do all the licensing, like all of that is the same. And I think when you have rental, I was still doing social media for people, like social media for the salon, like still doing like a lot of scheduling things, which I know you can do on your own as a rental, but it was part of the perks of working at my rental salon. Mm-hmm. But what are some of the things that you find yourself doing where you're feeling you're not like reaping the benefits of your hard work so people can kind of get an understanding of what that means?
Well, there's a lot of behind the scenes work and things that people don't put into consideration. I understand it seems simple just to do the licensing and getting the insurance situated. And, you have to keep the place clean and organized. And you still have to have your place be a well-known place where if you do not get your girls busy or men busy, then you're not going to have your renters that want to stay with you. So yes, it is a lot on renters to get their own clientele and to keep people involved. However, I want renters to want to be with me. And in order for them to want to be with me, I have to give them a place that is clean, that has a good following, a good name for itself. Just talking to your insurance agent, is still just hours in your day trying to figure all that out. And I would like to say I'm not managing, but leading, but that still has a form of managing because somebody has to take leadership and take care of all those things to make sure that a group works, whether you're a commission or a rental, a group has to work really well together in order for things to work well. I know my place is not like a salon rental where you have your own salon suites. So we all work together as well. So I think maybe that separates it rather than those other type places.
Yeah,
Hopefully that makes sense.
It totally makes sense. I think one thing is that like a business reputation is the business reputation, no matter if you're a commission structure or a rental structure.
Yeah.
People don't look at a business, like they don't look at a salon and be like, oh, so and so inside of, Opulent Beauty, it's Opulent Beauty Salon.
Yeah.
So even the renters that we have in our business are still setting up our business's reputation. And as a rental owner, it's really hard to uphold the inside business standards of each individual person if they're independent contractors. So I think that's something that like I really struggled with. Like if somebody got a bad review, it wasn't a bad review for that stylist. It was a bad review for the salon. And
That
I
is true.
unfortunately like had no control because I can't tell people what to wear. I can't tell, like, you can't tell them what products to use. You can't tell them to not go to Sally's. Like if they want to save money, it's just a part of the structure in itself. And I think too, like another point that you touched base on was that even though people say they want to go to rental because they want freedom and they don't want to be micromanaged or managed, they still crave structure and standards. And as a rental owner, you still have to have structure and standards, because if you don't, chaos totally like breaks out. And then people don't want to stay with you because they feel like there's no one like, holding the reins of the business and that it's a free for all and nobody wants to work in an environment like that.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's definitely a fine line with that you want to get your stations filled, of course, but I'm very particular with who I allow into my space. So, you wanting to have your stations filled and being particular in order to create that environment, you're going to have some give and take with that. I never want to discourage anybody from if they have a vision and they're set on doing salon rental. I never want to discourage them, but I definitely think that giving the information so that you can make the best decision is best. Just knowing that a lot of the times people go into it for, and myself included, go into it thinking that you're going to be doing ... And instead you're doing a lot of the work that you would if you had a commission-based place. There's a few things that I don't have as much as the commission, but there's definitely a lot more, I think, than people realize.
I think people need to hear, because I really think that a lot of people, I don't want to say like sell themselves short, but they don't really give themselves the opportunity to create the business that they want, because, not saying that you did this, but they just think that commission is so overwhelming. It's so hard. They don't want to manage people. They just want a nice place to work. They want to bring their vision to life. When in reality, like, I mean, there are so many similarities between commission and rental. Like you're doing the same amount of work and just the cash flow is not there. It's not the same.
I mean, like, I really, really like to encourage people to look into purchasing something if you're going to go
smart.
that route.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you're not seeing the paychecks come in and you know that at least you're going to see a light at the end of your tunnel, it's helpful.
Yeah. Right. You have that investment that's like part of your retirement. Let's touch base on that. Like, how did that process go for you? I think a lot of people are intimidated to purchase a building with taxes and like commercial real estate loans. Like, what was that process like for you? And how did you make that decision to jump? Because I think renting seems so much less scary, but in reality, your mortgage is probably less than or similar to what you were paying for rent in anyway.
Knowing that I wasn't going to do a commission-based salon, I knew that I wanted to see an investment. And how else? I mean, why not with real estate? And I have to go to work every single day anyway, so I may as well go in a property that I own. It was really just almost the same as buying a house. You have your realtor that shows you the locations. And then same thing, that you have the mortgage, the taxes, the insurance. That's a big one. A lot of people don't realize that, yes, you have liability insurance for the services that you offer, but you also need insurance for your location as well. So, the only thing is that they make it a little bit more difficult for you to get a loan for a commercial property. So you have to have more of a down payment. And a lot of the times, and myself included, I'm telling you my personal business, they give you like an arm, which then, with the interest rates going up and everything, that's something to be scary about. And I do know you have to be in business for at least 2 years for them to even give you a loan, which is one of the reasons why I wanted to rent at first anyways.
Yeah, that's really smart. So get that like business established and then you can go into buying a property.
I just feel like every time I'm doing work and I know that I will see something in the future, that's what keeps me going with rental. I personally do not think that I would continue moving forward with rental if I didn't have an investment. Nobody wants to spend all their hours doing work to not see anything for it. I just keep reminding myself that I will see that in the future, maybe not tomorrow, but in the future.
What are like 3 tips that you would give to somebody who is considering opening a rental salon that you have found success with running your rental business?
Definitely be particular with who you allow into your space. That is for sure. Do not go into it thinking that you do not have that much work. It is not as simple as someone just handing you a rent check and you're finished. You definitely have a lot of work that you do before and after hours. And I don't know if this applies to most people, but if you're going to have a rental place, my first location, we moved my first location, and now I own the building, and the second location is rented. And if you're going to have a rental, I feel it's beneficial for me to have it where I own it because that is my long-term investment.
Yeah.
I'm not looking forward to making a short-term income on my renters. My business, the location that I own is a long-term investment because I own the property. So I don't know if maybe I would recommend just considering that. So
Buying
that
the building.
Yeah, well, then that way you have some form of, you could go home and realize that you may not be seeing that in your bank account tomorrow, but in long term, that can maybe be your investment. And definitely do not go into it thinking that because I get all the time, oh, well, you could just eventually not have to work and just collect the income. And that is not the case. Luckily for me, I want to keep working as of now. And if I change my structure one day, then I'll think about that then. But I definitely make my income from taking on my clients. So do not go into being a rental salon thinking that you do not have to take clients and that you'll make an income that way.
Yeah, I think knowing what your like long-term like end goal is, I think rental is great for salon owners and for owners who really enjoy working behind the chair or, doing the services that they provide, because essentially what ends up happening is the rent covers the expenses and then the owner can take home whatever they bring in from either behind the chair or from the services that they actually are offering. So I think that's how you really generate an income. I think that if you are somebody who wants to step away and just wants to manage your business, then rental is not really a great option because the profit margin is very, very low. And so many things happen. There are things that like break. Yeah. I can't even tell you how many washers and dryers I've gone through in like the last 10 years. I think it's been like 4, which is like thousands of dollars. If you think about it, HVACs, like all of these things are so much money. Mm-hmm. And, sometimes
Let me interrupt you real quick.
Oh, yeah.
And for your commission place, here's the other thing too, is I think that sometimes they think the landlord will take care of those things. And that's not the case in commission or in rental, even whether you own the place or not. You still have to replace those things. There's so many things that people don't put into consideration that you have to put aside some of that money for to fix your place up.
Yeah, there is a lot of things like unexpected costs that arise when you open a business. One thing that like I'm very grateful for with my building and where I actually rent from is we don't have a triple net lease. So I'm not responsible for taxes, CAM, and all of that. It's a gross lease. So my monthly payment is the same every month. I mean, it does go up every year, but I think a lot of people get, hit with unexpected tax bills and things like that as well. Like those are things that you also have to save for and take into consideration. I think too, another thing that I'm seeing a big influx in is a lot of people who are coming from rental and going back to commission because they just don't want to deal with the clients. A lot of like studio renters that I've like had, they just don't like the business side. Like they just want to do hair. I don't think the people understand that either. It's a lot.
Well, that was eye-opening for me for sure, is that I thought that I thought because I had visions of things that way, that everybody else sees things. So you could be really good at doing hair, but that doesn't mean that you have the mindset to do the business side of it, or vice versa. And that's one thing that I definitely, I realize with having, now I have 25 girls with me.
That's
so
crazy.
I realize.
25 is great. That's great.
Thanks. Thank you.
Congratulations. That's fucking awesome.
Thank you.
It's definitely more. It's a lot more. And you don't realize it until you're in it, until you do it. And no one understands like the salon ownership part until they've actually been a salon owner, no matter if you're rental or commission. Like you don't get it. And you're like, oh, fuck. Now I understand.
Mm-hmm. And let's face it, when people say like your owners are taking all their money, and it's like that person is working, they're not, one, taking all your money, and two, they aren't working a lot. Why should that person not pay themselves for all that work?
Right. And not only that, like they built themselves to a place where like they've already done the hard work and already like put in the blood, sweat, and tears. And they've gotten to a place where they can finally like sit back and be like, okay, I can breathe, like.
Absolutely.
And I think that's another thing that people don't take into consideration is like the journey that everyone has experienced to get where they are. It's not just like something that happens overnight. Like there's a whole process. And like you earn the right to not have to work behind the chair because you've already like worked the 60, 80 hours a week.
Right.
And you've done the things to get where you are.
Yeah. Yeah. I definitely see things a lot differently now.
Yeah.
I
know. I mean,
like I respect things.
Yeah.
That I did not respect before.
Yeah. You don't appreciate it until you've actually tried to do it yourself.
Yeah. I agree. I definitely have. This is a learning experience, and I've grown so much and I've learned so much, and it's not what people think it is on that paper. I
think social media has a lot to do with that too, because everyone paints it as like a glamorous, beautiful, like fun journey and like a beautiful picture. Like no one really showcases like how many times I've like been sobbing, like dry heaving in the bathroom because I had like 4 people leave. You know what I mean? Like no one showcases that, or like, like having open spaces, or, being afraid to like not be able to pay the rent or payroll. There's a lot of like doom and gloom behind the scenes that I think and isn't showcased enough.
It's also a very, very cutthroat catty business as well.
It is.
You have to have a thick skin.
Yeah, you do.
I mean, I'd like to say I'm getting a little tougher with it, but I have to say, when I hear another girl gossiping about me or talking about me, it does sting. It is a sucker punch.
No, I know.
Yeah,
because like you, like in your mind, you're always doing what's best for your team, and you're always doing what's best for the people that work for you. Like I know that's what kind of person you are. That's the kind of person that I am. And no matter how much you pour into people, like they still leave and you're still the bad guy. You know what I mean? Always. You're always the bad guy. Like, and it's just like, well, I know they're talking shit about me, but like I had to do what was best for the business. And this is just like how it works. So, it's just definitely having a thick skin and not caring what people say is important.
It's tough, but you gotta, in order to survive this.
Yeah.
Someone gave me some really good advice though. And they said that I know that you're very fair with everybody, but you have to be fair to yourself. And for so long, I was definitely not fair to myself. And, I'm shifting my mindset on that kind of stuff as well.
A lot of business owners, especially salon owners, they don't do that. And then that's how they end up getting burnt out. And then they end up resenting their business because they're always doing what's best for their team. And they're never taking into consideration like what's best for me, because I'm part of the equation too.
Yeah, I agree.
When it comes to like having your rental, like would you, if you could do everything all over again, would you redo your structure and start differently?
I would not. I do know that my future holds me having a commission-based place, not anytime soon. But then again, I also, because I own the one location, I have that as a long-term investment. So I would have liked to have been more prepared for the things that I would have to do as a rental, so that way I had more of a cushion and I can structure things slightly better. I think that most people might disagree with me, though. I think most people would disagree with me. Even though when you have a commission, there is slightly more work, not you're doing a lot more when you're rental as well. Those few more things in my time in my life would just be adding on more for myself.
Yeah. I think commission gets a bad rap. I think a lot of people think that, and going into it now, like as a business owner, I'm sure you agree, like people think that like your salon owner is taking half of your money, when in reality, it's so expensive to run a salon. It's so expensive to have a business. And really like your owner, when you are doing commission, it really is a small amount of profit if you're doing everything right. So, I think too, like rental is great, talking from like a service provider standpoint. Like if you want to open your own business, if you want freedoms that you're not given by your salon owner. But when it comes to actually like getting more freedom, like that's not the case when you switch to rental, because you're doing so many more things that you never had to do before, like booking appointments, like marketing, like all of these things that like do take up so much time. And then on top of that, you have to do the services that you're providing behind the chair. So I think commission is great too when you want freedom. Like, would you just want to go to work and then do your work and then go home? For anyone who's like wondering, like, what's the right structure to actually like work in? But
I agree with that. I do. As long as they go to as long as they have a place where they go to where they see things vision in a way where you don't feel like you're being controlled, and where they can have some of that freedom, which I feel like now that's where the way the industry is taking it. Mm-hmm. I think it's headed in that direction anyways, so that way people don't have to feel like they don't have that structure, but then they also don't feel like they're left in the wind.
Right. I think people don't set their rental rates right. They're just like, oh, $200 a week sounds good. Or, oh, I don't want my rent to be too high because I want to make sure that my stylists are thriving or my service providers are thriving. When in reality, when they do that, they just end up literally kicking themselves in the ass. There is a strategic formula on how to figure out what you should charge. And you can't just pick your rental rate based off of feelings. Then you have to decide, like, do I want to break even every month? Can I afford to charge more? Because there's also, you have to take into consideration, like, what is the going rate in your area? If everyone in your area, and I hate to say basing your rent on this, but like a lot of people, will look at different businesses. So you have to see if your market can withstand charging more.
That's true.
And, obviously you don't want to break even every month. You do want to make more money, but just what is the opportunity and your demographic for that? Yeah. That's another thing. Like people, like a lot of people get into these, super large monthly rent payments. If you're in like a space where you only have 4 chairs and your rent is $5,000, like that's not a lot of opportunity. You need to rework your space to get more chairs in there. So you really just have to think about that too. Like taking into consideration, like before you even do your build out, how can I make sure that every square foot of this business is an opportunity to make me money? Do you really need a big break room? Do you need a huge office? Like if that's an opportunity to put in 3 more stations and generate more revenue for you, then that's what you should do. I think that's stuff that should be figured out before you do your build out.
I think a lot of people don't put into consideration the build out and all the supplies that go in with it. Of course, you go there and your contractor tells you one thing and it's always more.
Right. Oh, always. At least 20%. At least 20% more. Yeah.
Yeah. And then getting a loan out for that as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I was really lucky. My space was already built out. And that's another recommendation I tell people. If you can find a salon that's already like been established and has closed, like that will save you $100,000 with the electric and plumbing. Like that's insane in itself. But yeah, build out I don't know what you spent on your build out. I know we just did cosmetic things.
Yeah.
This was 11 years ago. And I think we spent $40,000 for like furniture and all the things, but it can be upwards to $200,000.
Yeah, you're going to puke if I told you what my renovations were.
But you own the building, right?
I do. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's what makes me feel a little bit more warm and fuzzy inside, is knowing that that's mine.
If I owned the building, I would have invested so much more. I think when you own it, it's like you don't mind putting like the actual like expensive things in.
Yeah.
But then again, like when you have people working for you, they don't give a shit. Like they get color on everything. They don't respect the furniture. They just don't look at it the same way that we do. We see like, oh my God, that couch was $500 and they like have their kids jumping on it or something, like even clients. Like I remember I had that one time and I was like, oh my God. But yeah, I mean like build outs, they're crazy. So you do have to take that. How long is it going to like take you to see your return on investment, especially with rental? So if you're spending $100,000 on your build out and your rent is only capable of covering your monthly expenses and you break even, then whatever you're bringing in as a service provider is where you're going to see your return on investment to pay that loan back.
Yeah.
And then you have to pay your return. Your return on investment will come from what you're producing behind the chair, which is going to take away from your take home pay and the income that you can make for yourself. So I think, commission, I feel like it's not easy. So what are some things that you wish you would have known before you opened your business?
I wish that I would have known how much work actually was involved with having a rental. Because, I mean, come on, we all think that when you have a rental space, when you own the rental space and, you have renters that rent from you, that they're giving you a rent check and that's it. And that's definitely not the case.
Well, I think too, like looking at you have 2 locations and most people can't make it past one. So there's like so much success in that as well. And I think even like rental in itself, like you still have to find people to work for you. People just don't come out of nowhere and are like, oh, I want to rent from you. So like, what do you contribute like that success to? Like, how do you find people to rent from you? Like, and how are you able to open a second location and be successful in that?
So I have to say I've done a lot of investing in Tracy's Boutique. I definitely took a lot and am still investing in myself so that I could eventually see that. And I think a lot of it is word of mouth. The girls that had come with me, which is funny enough, they all came, every single person that is with me right now has reached out to me. I have never solicited. I have never went after anybody. They had to come and ask me. And of course, then they told friends, and then just friends that know friends or people that were clients that told their hairstylist or told their other estheticians. They heard about us. And if the clients love coming where we're at, then, they want the people that they go to come with us as well. I feel like it's all word of mouth. And if you give yourself a good reputation, then it comes without, it comes.
Yeah, I think that's really, really important is working on your reputation for sure. So what are like some last pieces of information that you feel you want to share today? Because you're the one who reached out to me to do this podcast. You're like, I want to chat. I want to talk about it. What are some other things you want to share that maybe we didn't cover about your experience as a rental business owner?
I think the main thing would be is I don't want to discourage anybody from whatever structure that they have in their heart to do and that they really knew that they envisioned in their business. I think you have to do what is best for you. I just think it would be important for before any decisions that people make into owning their own business, that they get all the information, all the facts, and all the numbers. It's very important to put all your numbers down and not just wing it. And then make the best decision. And if you decide in the end that you still are better fit for rental or better fit for commission, in my case, I was better fit for rental. But I think it would have been important for me to know, and I want others to know, to get all that information first. And that includes income that you're going to make, the behind the scenes work that you're going to do that is definitely more than a 9 to 5. All the different things, like you had said, that break that you have to repair and take care of. And, you still have to go to events. You still have to promote yourself. You still have to get even though you're not getting the supplies, you still have to get equipment and like supplies, meaning like stuff for the shop.
So one last question. Where do you feel like the biggest shift for you? Because I think so many people, when we open our spaces, we really go into it with the mindset of a service provider. And then once we open our business, we're like, oh shit, like that's when like the actual business mindset kind of kicks in. So what's like one major shift you feel you've made since actually, transitioning from service provider to business owner? For me, for example, I didn't realize one of the major shifts I made was like leadership is everything. You can't just open a space and just like assume that everyone will come and they know exactly what to do. Like I feel like I had to really shift my perspective and my mindset around leadership and really transform that part for me. That's where like a big shift happened. So where would you say like one of your big shifts happened that like has created your success?
I think that who you're surrounded with is definitely very, very important. I think that, being realistic with your expectations is definitely a must, because you can't go into something thinking that you're going to have A and B when you're really going to get XYZ.
So where can people find you and where can people connect with you?
You can find us on tracysboutique.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here.
I appreciate it. Bye.
Thanks for tuning into the Elevate podcast. If you loved this episode, it would mean the world to me if you could leave a review on Apple Podcast or wherever you listen. The Elevate podcast is hosted by me, Patricia Nowakowski, and produced by Opulent Beauty Pro. To receive my free business guides, visit opulentbeautypro.com/free or click the link in the show notes. You can find me on Instagram at Opulent Beauty Pro or at Patricia_Nowakowski_OBS. If you love this show, please consider subscribing. See you next week.